The moment before Eli Kang spoke for the first time in 412 days, three things happened. A waiter dropped a tray of champagne glasses in the East Wing. Kang Seo-jun was shaking hands with a councilman who would be dead within the month. And Zara Okoye was trying to remember if the penalty for overstaying a work visa was deportation or prison. She was walking past the stage, head down, clutching an empty donation box, when she felt small fingers grab her wrist. The entire ballroom went silent. The boy, pale, hollow-eyed, the one the staff whispered about, was staring up at her with an expression that looked like drowning and salvation at the same time. His lips moved. "Mom." The word cut through the orchestra music like a blade through silk. 200 heads turned. Zara's heart stopped. The child's grip tightened on her wrist, his small hand trembling but insistent. Kang Seo-jun dropped the councilman's hand mid-shake and moved through the crowd with the fluid precision of a predator. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, dark and sharp, locked onto Zara like targeting systems acquiring prey. "Eli." His voice was soft. Dangerously soft. "Let go of the woman." The boy didn't move. Instead, he pressed himself against Zara's side, burying his face in the cheap fabric of her borrowed uniform. "Mom," he said again, louder this time. "Don't go." The crowd began to murmur. Cameras flashed. Somewhere in the back, a reporter was already typing. Zara tried to step back, but Eli's grip was iron. Her mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. She was an immigrant with an expired visa holding the son of the most powerful man in Hanul City. This was how deportation stories began. "I'm sorry," she whispered to Seo-jun, trying to pry the boy's fingers loose. "I don't know why he—" "Stop." Seo-jun raised one hand, and the entire room seemed to obey. Even the orchestra ceased playing. He knelt in front of his son, his expression shifting into something almost gentle. "Eli, look at me." The boy shook his head, clinging tighter to Zara. Seo-jun's jaw tightened. For a moment, something flickered across his face. Grief, rage, desperation. Then it vanished behind the mask of control. He stood and looked at Zara properly for the first time. His gaze moved over her face with surgical precision, cataloging every feature. "What's your name?" "Zara Okoye, sir." "You work for the catering company?" "No, sir. I was hired to help with the donation processing. Just for tonight." Her accent thickened under stress, the Nigerian lilt becoming more pronounced. "I don't know your son. I've never seen him before." Seo-jun studied her for a long moment. Around them, the crowd pressed closer, phones raised, whispers spreading like wildfire. A woman in a diamond necklace was already on her phone, no doubt calling a news outlet. "Security," Seo-jun said quietly. Two men in dark suits materialized from the shadows. Zara's stomach dropped. This was it. Deportation. Prison. Tari alone in the system. But Seo-jun didn't point at her. He pointed at the crowd. "Clear the room. The gala is over." Chaos erupted. Guests protested. Reporters shouted questions. The diamond necklace woman demanded a refund. But the security team was efficient and ruthless, herding everyone toward the exits with polite but inflexible force. In 5 minutes, the ballroom was empty except for Seo-jun, Eli, Zara, and 4 security guards positioned at the exits. Seo-jun knelt again in front of his son. "Eli, I need you to tell me why you called this woman." The boy looked up at Zara. His eyes were huge and dark, filled with something that looked like recognition. "She smells like mom. She sounds like mom." His voice was hoarse from disuse, each word clearly painful to produce. "She feels safe." Zara's throat tightened. She'd lost her own mother at 12. She knew what that kind of desperate need looked like. Seo-jun's expression cracked, just for a second. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they were wet. He stood abruptly, turning away. "Dr. Han," he said into his phone. "I need you at the estate immediately." He listened for a moment, then, "I don't care what time it is. My son just spoke for the first time in over a year. You will come now." He ended the call and looked at Zara. Really looked at her this time, not as a threat but as a puzzle he needed to solve. "How old are you?" 29, sir." You have family in Hanul City? Zara hesitated. The truth was complicated and dangerous. But lying to this man seemed even more dangerous. I have a ward. Tari. She's 6. A ward, not a daughter? I'm her legal guardian. Her parents died in Lagos. I brought her here 3 years ago. Zara's hands were shaking now. She clasped them together. Sir, I really don't understand what's happening. I just need to finish my shift and go home. Your shift is finished. Seo Jun moved closer, and Zara fought the urge to step back. He smelled like expensive cologne and something darker underneath, gunpowder, maybe, or blood. My son hasn't spoken since his mother died 14 months ago. Every specialist in 3 countries has tried to reach him. Nothing worked. Then you walk past him and he speaks. That's not, I didn't do anything. Clearly you did. Seojun's gaze flicked to where Eli still gripped Zara's hand. Dr. Han will examine him. And you will stay until we understand what triggered this. It wasn't a request. Zara wanted to argue, but Eli chose that moment to lean against her again, his small body radiating exhaustion. She could feel him trembling. Okay, she said quietly. But I need to call Tari's babysitter. She's expecting me back by 11. Seo Jun nodded to one of the security guards. Escort Ms. Okoye to a private room. Bring her phone. And find out everything about her. Employment history, visa status, criminal record, associates. Everything. The guard, a man with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, gestured toward a side door. Zara gently tried to extract her hand from Eli's grip, but the boy made a small, distressed sound. I'll be right back, she told him softly. I promise. I just need to make a phone call. Eli searched her face, then slowly released her hand. Zara followed the scarred guard out of the ballroom, her mind spinning. What had she just walked into? The private room turned out to be a small office with leather chairs and a desk that probably cost more than Zara had earned in her entire life. The guard handed her a phone, not her cheap burner, but an expensive smartphone. Lines secure, he said. Make your call. Zara dialed Mrs. Kim, the elderly woman who sometimes watched Tari for criminally low rates. Hello. Mrs. Kim, it's Zara. I'm going to be late. Very late. Is Tari asleep? Yes. No problem. She's good girl. You work late, I stay late. Mrs. Kim's Korean was easier for Zara to understand than her broken English. You okay? You sound scared. I'm fine. Just unexpected overtime. I'll pay you extra. No need extra. You good mother to that girl. Not many people take orphan from Africa. You good heart. Zara's eyes stung. Thank you, Mrs. Kim. I'll be home as soon as I can. She ended the call and found the scarred guard watching her with an expression that might have been sympathy. You really don't know who Kang Seo-jun is, do you? Should I? He owns half the shipping infrastructure in Hanul City. The other half wants him dead. The guard's expression shifted into something carefully neutral. His wife died in a car accident last year. Drove off a bridge. They said the brakes failed, but... He trailed off, clearly saying more than he should. Zara's stomach nodded. You don't think it was an accident? I don't think anything. I'm paid not to think. He opened the door. Dr. Han is here. Boss wants you back in the ballroom. Dr. Han turned out to be a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything twice. She was examining Eli when Zara entered, asking him gentle questions about how he felt, whether his throat hurt, whether he remembered his mother. Eli answered in short, halting sentences, but he kept glancing at the door, clearly waiting for Zara. When she appeared, his entire body relaxed. Dr. Han noticed. She studied Zara with clinical interest, then looked at Seo-jun. It's called emotional imprinting. Sometimes, after severe trauma, children will attach to someone who represents safety. It's not rational. It's instinctive. She gestured at Zara. She resembles your wife physically? No. Hara was Korean. But the voice? The scent? The mannerisms? Seo-jun was quiet for a long moment. Hara wore rose oil. Boys. And she had a low voice for a woman with a slight rasp. He looked at Zara. Do you wear perfume? I can't afford perfume. But the family I work for on weekends, they have a rose garden. Maybe I smell like the flowers. And your voice, Dr. Han said. It's lower register. The accent adds a particular vocal pattern that might be triggering a sensory memory. She turned to Seo Jun. The important thing is that Eli spoke. That's a breakthrough. If we remove Ms. Okoye now, he might regress. So what do you suggest? Keep her nearby. Let Eli interact with her in a controlled environment. It might help him process his grief. Dr. Han packed her instruments. But I should warn you, this kind of attachment can be fragile. If something happens to Ms. Okoye, the psychological damage to Eli could be severe. Zara felt like the walls were closing in. Wait, what are you saying? That I have to stay here? I'm saying, Dr. Han replied, that you might be the key to this child's recovery. Whether you want that responsibility is another question. Seo Jun was watching Zara with an expression she couldn't read. Ms. Okoye, how much do you make at your current jobs? That's not. Answer the question. Zara's jaw tightened. About 1.2 million won a month. Sometimes less. And your visa status? So they'd already checked. Of course they had. I have 11 days before it expires. The extension was denied. Why? They said my employment wasn't stable enough. I move between part-time jobs. None of them meet the income threshold. The words tasted like ash. She'd worked so hard, saved every possible one, and it still wasn't enough. Seo Jun pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed her the screen. Zara's breath caught. It was a contract. Employment contract for child care specialist and household assistant. The salary made her head spin. 15 million won per month. 3 months, Seo Jun said. Help Eli recover. In return, I'll pay you the salary and sponsor your visa extension. By the time the contract ends, you'll have enough to apply for permanent residency. Why would you? Because my son is speaking for the first time in over a year, and I'll do anything to keep that progress going. His voice was flat, factual. You need money and legal status. I need someone my son trusts. It's a transaction. Nothing more. Zara looked at Eli. The boy was watching her with those huge, desperate eyes. She thought about Tari, about the deportation notice sitting on their kitchen table, about the future she'd promised a 6-year-old girl who'd already lost everything once. If I say yes, Tari comes too. I won't leave her with babysitters for 3 months. Done. There's plenty of room in the estate. And after 3 months, we leave. No matter what. Something flickered in Seo Jun's expression. After 3 months, you're free to go. Zara knew she was making a deal with the devil. But sometimes the devil was the only one offering a way out of hell. I'll do it. Eli's face lit up with the first real smile Zara had seen from him. He ran to her and wrapped his arms around her waist, and despite everything, the danger, the uncertainty, the feeling of being caught in a trap, Zara found herself hugging him back. She just hoped she'd survive long enough to collect the money. The Kang estate turned out to be less of a house and more of a fortress. 20-foot walls, security cameras on every corner, guards with earpieces patrolling the grounds. Zara and Tari arrived the next morning with their belongings stuffed into 2 battered suitcases. Tari pressed her face against the car window, eyes wide. Are we rich now? No, baby. We're just staying here for a little while. It looks like a castle. Does it have a princess? It has a boy who needs friends. Think you can help with that? Tari considered this seriously. She was small for 6, with tight braids and her mother's cautious eyes. I'm good at making friends. I made 3 at school last week. That's my girl. The car stopped in front of a main house that could have held 10 families. A woman in her 60s appeared at the door, stern-faced, with her hair pulled into a tight bun. I'm Mrs. Huang, the head housekeeper. Mr. Kang is in meetings all day. I'll show you to your quarters. The quarters were a suite on the 2nd floor with 2 bedrooms, a private bathroom, and a sitting area. Tari ran from room to room, squealing. Zara sank onto the sofa and tried to process the last 12 hours. Mrs. Huang lingered in the doorway. Eli's room is down the hall. Mr. Kang asked that you check on him when you're settled. He's been asking for you since dawn. Guilt twisted in Zara's stomach. I'll go now. Eli's room was massive and almost empty of toys. The walls were pale blue, the furniture expensive but cold. The boy sat on his bed, dressed in pressed pajamas, holding a stuffed tiger. When he saw Zara, his face transformed. You came back. I said I would. She sat on the edge of the bed. How are you feeling this morning? My throat hurts. Dr. Han said that's normal. He clutched the tiger tighter. Dad's not here. He's always in meetings. He's working so he can take care of you. He doesn't talk to me. Not really. He looks at me like I'm broken. Eli's voice dropped to a whisper. Do you think I'm broken? Zara's heart cracked. No, sweetheart. I think you're hurt. That's different. Hurt things can heal. My mom used to say that too. He looked up at her. Do you have a mom? I did. She died when I was 12. Did you stop talking? No. I cried a lot though. For months. Zara remembered those days like they were yesterday. The hollow ache, the world turned gray, the feeling that nothing would ever be right again. Everyone heals differently. There's no wrong way to be sad. Eli seemed to absorb this. Then, there's a girl in the hallway. Is she yours? That's Tari. She's my ward. Want to meet her? He nodded and Zara called Tari in. The two children stared at each other with the solemn wariness of animals deciding whether to fight or play. Tari broke first. Do you like coloring? I guess. I brought markers. We could draw. And just like that, the ice broke. Within minutes, they were sprawled on Eli's floor, arguing amicably about whether dragons should be green or purple. Zara watched them and felt something loosen in her chest. Maybe this would be okay. Maybe she could actually help this broken boy and keep Tari safe at the same time. Then Mrs. Huang appeared in the doorway, her expression grim. Ms. Okoye, Mr. Kang wants to see you in his study. Now. The study was all dark wood and leather, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the estate grounds. Seo Jun sat behind a massive desk, his jacket discarded, his shirt sleeves rolled up. He looked like he hadn't slept. Sit. Zara sat. He slid a folder across the desk. That's everything my security team found on you. It's not much. She didn't open it. You mean I'm boring? I mean you're careful. 3 years in Hanul City and you've left almost no digital footprint. No social media, no credit cards, no rental history under your name. The apartment you live in is listed under someone named Marcus Obi. Zara's pulse quickened. He's a friend. He let me sublease. Marcus Obi is also wanted in Lagos for embezzlement. He's been flagged by Interpol. I didn't know that. The lie came easily because it was half true. She'd suspected Marcus was running from something, but she'd never asked questions. That was the immigrant survival code. Don't ask, don't tell, don't get involved. Whether you knew or not, it makes you vulnerable. Seo Jun leaned back in his chair. I need people around my son who can't be leveraged. So I'm going to ask you once, and I need the truth. Are you running from anything? Just poverty. His eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Zara met his gaze steadily. I came to Hanul City because there was nothing left for me in Lagos. Tari's parents were my friends. When they died, I promised I'd take care of her. That's all I'm running toward. A better life for a little girl who deserves one. Seo Jun studied her for a long moment. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a phone. Sleek, expensive, already configured. This is yours now. My number's programmed in. So is security, Mrs. Huang, Dr. Han, and Eli's school. If anything happens, anything, you call immediately. What kind of anything? Strangers approaching you. Unusual vehicles following you. Anyone asking questions about Eli or me. He paused. You need to understand something, Ms. Okoye. My world is dangerous. There are people who would hurt my son to get to me. By accepting this job, you've placed yourself and Tari in the crossfire. Then why bring us here at all? Because Eli needs you. And I will sacrifice anything, including your safety, for my son's well-being. His expression was cold, matter-of-fact. If that's unacceptable, leave now. I'll still pay you for the 1 day and help with your visa. Zara thought about the deportation notice. The empty bank account. Tari's trusting face. We'll stay. But then there's something else you need to know. He pulled up a file on his computer and turned the screen toward her. Financial records, dense with numbers. I'm told you have a background in forensic accounting. Zara stiffened. That particular skill wasn't on any of her official records. Who told you that? I have resources. Answer the question. I worked for an accounting firm in Lagos for 3 years before coming here. But I was just an assistant. I processed invoices, reconciled statements. You found a 7 million naira embezzlement scheme that your supervisors had missed for 2 years. You reported it anonymously, and 3 executives went to prison. Seojun's expression was unreadable. Don't lie to me again, Ms. Okoye. I don't have patience for it. Zara's mouth went dry. That case had nearly gotten her killed. The executives had friends, and those friends had long memories. It was part of why she'd fled Lagos. What do you want? Kang Holdings is bleeding money. Someone inside my organization is siphoning funds. My regular accountants can't find the leak. He closed the laptop. I want you to look at the books. Quietly. I'm here to take care of your son, not? You're here because I'm paying you an obscene amount of money. This is part of that payment. His voice hardened. If someone is stealing from me, they're threatening my son's future. Find them. It wasn't a request. Zara swallowed hard. I'll need access to financial records going back at least 2 years. Payroll, vendor payments, shipping logs, everything. You'll have it by tonight. Seojun stood, signaling the conversation was over. One more thing. Eli asked if you'd have dinner with us. 7 o'clock. Mrs. Huang will show you to the dining room. Zara stood too, her legs unsteady. She was in way over her head. Mr. Kang. Seojun. If you're living in my house, we skip the formalities. Seojun. Why do you really trust me with this? You don't know me. He walked to the window and stared out at the grounds. I don't trust you. But my son does. That will have to be enough. It wasn't reassuring. Zara left the study feeling like she just signed a contract in her own blood. The financial records arrived after midnight, delivered by the scarred guard, whose name, Zara learned, was Day. He set up a laptop in her sitting room and showed her how to access the encrypted files. Boss says you ask for anything you need, no questions. What I need is about 6 months and a team of analysts. Day smiled grimly. Boss says you have 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if you find something interesting. Of course. Zara waited until he left, then opened the first file. Numbers swam across the screen, thousands of transactions, hundreds of accounts, all interconnected in a web so complex it made her head hurt. But she'd always been good with patterns. And patterns were just stories told in numbers. She worked until dawn, fueled by coffee and growing dread. Because she was finding things. Small things at first, payments that were slightly too round, vendor invoices that repeated in suspicious patterns, shipping costs that didn't quite match the cargo weights. And then, buried in a subsidiary account marked charitable donations, she found the smoking gun. Regular transfers to the Bright Tomorrow Trust, the charity that had hosted the gala. Monthly payments of exactly 50 million won, always on the 15th, going back 3 years. That wasn't unusual by itself. But when Zara cross-referenced those payments with the trust's public tax records, the numbers didn't match. The trust reported receiving half of what Kang Holdings claimed to have sent. Someone was skimming 25 million won every month. Zara's hands shook as she dug deeper. The payments were authorized by someone with high-level clearance, someone close to Seojun. And the missing money was being routed through shell companies registered in 3 different countries. She traced the final destination and felt her blood turn to ice. The money was going to an account owned by a corporation called Beck Enterprises. Zara didn't know much about Hanul City's underworld, but even she'd heard the name Beck Ryu. He was the kind of man newspapers called a businessman in print and a gangster in whispers. And someone inside Kang Holdings was feeding him millions. She was still staring at the screen when her phone buzzed. A text from Seo-jun, "Eli's awake and asking for you. Breakfast in 20 minutes. Zara saved her work, encrypted the files, and tried to calm her racing heart. She needed to tell Seo-jun what she'd found. But something held her back. An instinct honed by years of surviving in dangerous spaces. If the leak was someone close to Seo-jun, telling him might be signing her own death warrant. She needed more proof. More time. More something. Breakfast was an awkward affair. Seo-jun sat at the head of a table that could seat 20, Eli on his right, Zara and Tari on his left. Mrs. Huang served food that Zara couldn't even pronounce while Tari whispered questions about what everything was. Eli seemed lighter this morning, more animated. He told his father about the dragons he'd drawn with Tari, about the book Zara had read him before bed, about wanting to go to the garden. Seo-jun listened with the focused attention of someone who'd forgotten how to talk to children. He responded in careful, measured sentences, always slightly too formal, like he was conducting a business meeting with a small person. It made Zara sad. This man clearly loved his son, but he didn't know how to bridge the gap between them. "Eli," Seo-jun said finally, "I have meetings today, but I'll be home for dinner. Perhaps we could." His phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression went cold. "Excuse me." He left the table. Through the open door, Zara heard fragments of conversation. "Don't care what Beck's offering. My ports, my terms. Tell him if he pushes again, it's war." Zara's stomach clenched. "But, as in Beckryu." Seo-jun returned, his face a mask. "I have to go to the docks. Mrs. Huang will drive the children to school." "Eli's going to school?" Just surprised. "He starts back today. Dr. Han thinks structure will help." Seo-jun looked at his son. "You'll be fine. Your teacher knows you might not talk much yet." Eli's face crumpled. "I want Zara to take me. Ms. Okoye has work to do. Please." Something passed between father and son, a tension Zara didn't fully understand. Finally, Seo-jun's shoulders sagged. "Fine. Mrs. Huang will go with you both. And Day will follow in a second car." "Why do we need security?" Zara asked. "Because I'm a cautious man." Seo-jun grabbed his jacket. "Call me if there are any problems." He was gone before Zara could ask what kind of problems he expected. The school was a private academy behind high walls, filled with children of diplomats and executives. Zara felt underdressed and out of place as she walked Eli and Tari to their respective classrooms, acutely aware of the other parents' stares. Eli's teacher was a young woman with a kind smile and worry in her eyes. "We're so glad Eli's coming back. We heard he's been speaking again." "A little," Zara confirmed. "That's wonderful." She knelt in front of Eli. "Remember, you don't have to talk if you don't want to. We're just happy you're here." Eli nodded and let himself be led into the classroom. Zara watched him go, fighting the urge to follow. Tari was more enthusiastic about her new school, already chattering with potential friends before Zara had even left. That was good. At least one of them was adapting. Day was waiting by the car, scanning the parking lot like he expected an attack. "We should go. Is there something I should know about?" "Just doing my job, Ms. Okoye." But his hand rested on something under his jacket. A gun, Zara realized with a chill. They drove back to the estate in tense silence. Zara spent the rest of the morning reviewing financial records, building her case. The pattern was clear now, money flowing out of Kang Holdings and into Baekryu's pockets, with someone inside acting as the conduit. She needed to figure out who. The authorization codes on the transfers were encrypted, but Zara had learned a few tricks over the years. She ran a decryption program and waited, her fingers drumming against the desk. The program pinged. Authorization code decrypted. Zara opened the file and felt the room tilt. The code belonged to someone named Yoon-hara, Seo-jun's dead wife. Zara's mind raced. This didn't make sense. Why would Hara steal from her own husband and give money to his rival? Unless she wasn't stealing. Unless she was being framed. Or unless... Her phone rang. "Seo-jun. The school called. There's been an incident." Zara's blood turned to ice. "What kind of incident?" "A man tried to approach Eli during recess." Security stopped him, but he got close enough to speak to my son. Seojun's voice was tight with controlled rage. I'm sending a car. Get to the school now. The line went dead. Zara grabbed her jacket and ran. The school was in lockdown when she arrived. Police cars blocked the entrance, and parents were being kept outside while investigators swept the grounds. Zara pushed through the crowd, her heart hammering. Day found her first. Ms. Okoye. This way. He led her through a side entrance, past arguing administrators and stressed teachers, to a small office where Eli sat on a sofa, clutching his tiger. His face was pale, his eyes red from crying. Zara knelt in front of him. Hey, I'm here. You're safe. He threw himself into her arms, sobbing. Zara held him tight, rubbing his back, whispering nonsense comfort words the way her mother once had. What did the man say to you? She asked gently. He said, Eli's voice broke. He said he knew what happened to Mom. He said if I told anyone, Dad would die too. Zara's blood ran cold. She looked at Day, who had gone very still. Where's Seojun? On his way. But even as Day spoke, Zara's instinct screamed that something was wrong. This wasn't random. This was a message. The threat. And it was aimed at the people Seojun loved most. She pulled out her phone and opened the encrypted files, her fingers flying across the screen. If Hara's authorization codes were being used posthumously, that meant someone had access to her accounts. Someone inside the organization. She pulled up the employee records, cross-referencing clearance levels and access times. One name appeared over and over, always in the background, always with just enough access to be dangerous. Kwon Min-soo, Seojun's head of security. The man who was supposed to protect Eli. The man who'd probably just sent someone to threaten him. Zara looked at Day. I need to talk to Seojun. Right now. He's still 20 minutes out. Call him. Tell him not to come here. She grabbed Day's arm. Tell him it's a trap. Day's expression shifted from confusion to understanding in a heartbeat. He pulled out his phone, but before he could dial, the lights went out. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Somewhere in the building, an alarm started wailing. Day shoved Zara behind him, gun already drawn. Stay with the kid. Don't open this door for anyone but me or the boss. He was gone before Zara could argue, disappearing into the chaos outside. Zara locked the door and pulled Eli close. Through the small window, she could see shadows moving, security guards, teachers, police. Or people pretending to be those things. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have minded your own business. Now the boy pays. Zara's hands shook. She looked around the room, searching for another exit, a weapon, anything. There was a window, but they were on the second floor. A desk with drawers. She yanked them open, finding staplers, pens, a letter opener. Better than nothing. She grabbed the letter opener and positioned herself between Eli and the door. Zara. Eli's voice was tiny. I'm scared. I know, baby. But I'm here. And your dad's coming. And we're going to be okay. She hoped she sounded more confident than she felt. Footsteps in the hallway. Multiple people moving fast. The door handle rattled. Ms. Okoye? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Open up. We're here to evacuate you. Zara didn't answer. She pressed herself against the wall, letter opener raised, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Ms. Okoye, we don't have time for this. There's been a security breach. She recognized the tactic. Create urgency, break down resistance. She'd seen it in Lagos when armed men came for the executives she'd exposed. The same reasonable tone, the same false concern. Who sent you? She called out. The pause. Then, Kwon Min's head of security. Zara's stomach dropped. She'd been right. She pulled Eli closer and whispered, We're going out the window. But we're too high. There's a ledge. We can climb down to the first floor. She hoped. She prayed. The door shuddered as something heavy hit it from the outside. They were done asking. Zara unlocked the window and pushed it open. Cold air rushed in. Below, a narrow ledge ran along the building's exterior, maybe 10 inches wide. 20 feet down, The ground waited like a promise or a threat. She climbed out first, her cheap shoes slipping on the concrete. Don't look down. Don't think. Just move. Eli. Come on, baby. I've got you. The boy climbed out, his small hands gripping the window frame. Tears streamed down his face, but he didn't make a sound. Brave kid. Too brave. Behind them, the door splintered. Zara grabbed Eli's hand and moved along the ledge, her back pressed against the wall, her free hand searching for holds. The wind picked up, trying to pull them loose. Eli whimpered but kept moving. They reached the corner of the building just as someone shouted from the window they'd escaped through. On the ledge. Zara looked around desperately. 10 feet ahead, a drain pipe. If they could reach it, they could climb down. If it held their weight. If they didn't fall. No choice. She pulled Eli forward, faster now, ignoring the way her legs shook and her vision narrowed. The drain pipe was old metal, rusted at the joints, but when she grabbed it, it held. We're going to climb down. Just like monkey bars, okay? Eli nodded, his face white. Zara went first, wrapping her legs around the pipe, using her hands to control the descent. The metal bit into her palms. Rust flaked off, staining her skin orange. She could hear shouting above, the men trying to decide whether to follow. She dropped the last 6 feet, landing hard enough to jar her teeth. Then she looked up. Eli, your turn. The boy hesitated, then swung himself onto the pipe with the reckless courage of childhood. He slid down too fast, losing his grip, and Zara lunged to catch him. They both went down in a tangle of limbs. Run, Zara gasped, pulling him up. The parking lot. Day's car. They ran. Behind them, she heard heavy footfalls hitting the ground. The men had jumped rather than climb. They'd be faster. The parking lot was chaos. Parents being evacuated, police trying to establish a perimeter, news vans already circling like vultures. Zara scanned for Day's car and spotted it near the back, the driver's door open. Empty. Where was he? A hand grabbed her shoulder. Zara spun, the letter opener still clutched in her fist, and nearly stabbed Day in the throat. He caught her wrist. Oh, it's me. Someone's after us. They said Quan sent them. Quan's dead. Found him in the security office with his throat cut. Day's expression was grim. This is bigger than we thought. Get in the car. He shoved them into the back seat and peeled out of the parking lot, tires screaming. Through the rear window, Zara saw 2 men emerge from the school, scanning the crowd. One of them met her eyes. He smiled and lifted his phone to his ear. They saw us, Zara said. I know. Hold on. Day drove like he was trying to break the sound barrier, weaving through traffic, running red lights, taking turns that made Zara's stomach lurch. Eli pressed against her side, silent and shaking. Where's Seo Jun? Zara asked. Meeting us at a safe house. We can't go back to the estate, they'll expect that. Day's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Black sedan, 3 cars back. They're following us. Zara looked. Sure enough, a sleek black car was matching their movements, staying just far enough back to seem innocent. Can you lose them? I can try. What followed was the most terrifying 10 minutes of Zara's life. Day drove through narrow alleys, the wrong way down one-way streets, through a market that scattered pedestrians like startled birds. The black sedan stayed with them, relentless as a hunting dog. Then Day made a hard right into an underground parking garage, killed the lights, and slammed into a parking spot behind a concrete pillar. Don't move. Don't breathe. They waited in suffocating darkness. Zara could hear her own heartbeat, Eli's rapid breathing, the distant sound of traffic. Seconds stretched into minutes. The black sedan's engine echoed through the garage, growing louder, closer. It passed their hiding spot, cruising slowly, searchlights sweeping across concrete pillars. Zara held Eli so tight she was probably hurting him, but she couldn't let go. If they were found here, trapped in this concrete tomb, it was over. The sedan made another pass. Then another. Finally, the engine sound faded. Gone. Day waited 5 more minutes before starting the car. We're clear. For now. The safe house turned out to be an apartment in a rundown building in the factory district. The kind of place where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions. Seo-jun was already there, pacing like a caged animal, his phone pressed to his ear. When he saw Eli, his expression cracked. He ended the call and dropped to his knees, pulling his son into a crushing embrace. "You're okay. You're okay." He repeated it like a prayer, his voice breaking on the words. Eli clung to him, finally letting himself cry, deep, wrenching sobs that shook his small body. Zara stood in the doorway, suddenly feeling like an intruder on this private moment of relief and terror. But Seo-jun looked up at her, his eyes wet. "Thank you. Dae told me what you did. You saved my son's life. There's no just about that." He stood, still holding Eli. "Kwan's dead. Someone inside my organization betrayed me. And whoever it is, they're working with Baek-ryu." His jaw tightened. "Tell me you found something in those financial records." Zara glanced at Eli, who was listening with too adult awareness. "Maybe we should talk privately." Seo-jun nodded and handed Eli to Dae. "Stay with him. If anyone comes through that door who isn't me or Ms. Okoye, shoot first." Dae's expression said he didn't need to be told twice. In the apartment's tiny kitchen, Zara pulled up her encrypted files on her phone and showed Seo-jun everything she'd found. The siphoned money, the shell companies, Hara's authorization codes being used posthumously. Seo-jun's face went through several expressions: shock, rage, grief, before settling on something cold and dangerous. Hara was investigating this before she died. She told me she'd found irregularities in the charitable foundation, but she wanted more proof before bringing it to me. His voice was hollow. I thought she was being paranoid. I told her to drop it. She didn't drop it. No. She kept digging. And someone killed her for it. He slammed his fist against the counter, making Zara jump. Kwan. It had to be Kwan. He had access to everything: her accounts, her security detail, her schedule. He could have sabotaged her car. Or he was working for whoever did. Zara pulled up another file. The money flows through 3 shell companies before reaching Baek-ryu. But there's another account in the chain, a personal account registered to someone named Lee Jin-ho. Seo-jun went very still. "Jin-ho is my accountant. He's been with Kang Holdings for 15 years. He's also been stealing from you for at least 3. And I think he's the one who killed your wife." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Seo-jun's expression was nothing, a void, the absence of humanity. When he spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. "Where is he now?" According to his calendar, he's at the Kang Holdings main office. Zara hesitated. "Seo-jun, we should call the police. Let them handle this. The police are paid by the same people trying to kill my son." He pulled out his phone. "I'll handle this my way." "Your way gets people killed." He looked at her. "Good." Zara realized with cold certainty that she was about to watch a man commit murder. And the worst part? She understood. If someone had hurt Tari, she'd probably do the same. "Eli can't know about this," she said finally. "Whatever you do, he can't know." "He won't." Seo-jun made a call. "Bring the car around. And get 8 men to the main office. Full arms. We're cleaning house." He ended the call and looked at Zara. "You and Eli stay here. Dae will protect you. I'll be back in a few hours. And if you're not? Then take my son and run. There's a bank account. Dae has the details. Enough money to disappear." He moved toward the door, then paused. "You asked me once why I trusted you with this. It's because you're the only person in my life who wants nothing from me except money. You won't betray me for power or influence or fear. You'll betray me for cash, and I can always pay more than my enemies." It was possibly the saddest thing Zara had ever heard. "I'm not going to betray you. Everyone says that." He opened the door. "Until they do." He was gone before she could respond, leaving Zara alone with Dae and Eli and the terrible weight of what was about to happen. The next 4 hours were the longest of Zara's life. She tried to distract Eli with games and books, but the boy knew something was wrong. He kept asking where his father was, why they were hiding, whether they'd ever go home. Zara didn't have good answers. Day spent the time cleaning his gun and watching the door with the intensity of a man who expected death to walk through it at any moment. Finally, as the sun set and the apartment filled with shadows, Zara's phone buzzed. A text from Seo Jun. "It's done. Coming to you." Relief and dread washed over her in equal measure. She looked at Day. "He's okay. For now." What did that mean? But before Zara could ask, there was a knock at the door, 3 short raps, a pause, 2 more. Day's signal. He opened it, gun raised, then lowered it when he saw Seo Jun. The man looked like he'd aged 10 years in 4 hours. Blood stained his shirt cuffs. His knuckles were split and raw. But his eyes were empty, all the rage burned out, leaving only ash. Eli ran to him. "Dad!" Seo Jun caught him, held him, and for a moment he was just a father grateful to see his son alive. Then he looked at Zara over Eli's head. "We need to talk." Outside. Zara followed him into the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in sickly yellow. "Lee Jin-ho is dead," Seo Jun said flatly. "So are 3 of his associates." It got messy. Did he confess? Eventually. He killed Hara on Baek Ryu's orders. The money he was stealing, it was payment for access to our shipping routes. Baek wanted to take over my operations piece by piece. Seo Jun leaned against the wall, suddenly looking exhausted. Jin-ho said there are others. More people inside Kang Holdings working for Baek. He gave me names before he died. Are you going to kill them too? Do you want me to lie and say no? Zara didn't answer. What could she say? That violence was wrong? Tell that to the people who tried to kidnap Eli. That there was another way? There wasn't. Not in this world. Baek Ryu won't let this go, she said finally. He'll retaliate. I'm counting on it. I want him to come for me. I want him angry and reckless. Seojun's expression hardened. And when he does, I'll be ready. And Eli? What happens to him while you're waging war? He stays with you. You keep him safe. Seo Jun pushed off the wall. I'm moving you to a new location. Somewhere Baek can't find. You'll have 24-hour security, everything you need. What about Tari? She's already there. Day picked her up from school before this all started. He pulled out a key card. High-rise apartment in the financial district. 40th floor. No one gets up without clearance. Zara took the key, her mind spinning. This was spiraling out of control so fast. A week ago, she was worrying about rent. Now she was hiding from gangsters in a safe house while her employer planned murder. I didn't sign up for this, she said quietly. I know. But you're in it now. And the only way out is through. Seojun's gaze was steady, unflinching. I meant what I said about the bank account. If this goes wrong, take the money and run. Give Eli and Tari the life they deserve. You're not going to die. Everyone dies, Ms. Okoye. It's just a question of when and how. He opened the apartment door. Let's go. We've been here too long already. The high-rise apartment was everything the safe house wasn't. Sleek, modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Hanul City's glittering skyline. Tari was there, playing with a tablet, guarded by 2 stone-faced security personnel. When she saw Zara, she burst into tears. They wouldn't tell me where you were. I know, baby. I'm sorry. I'm here now. Zara held her tight, breathing in the familiar scent of the cheap shampoo they used. Solid. Eli and Tari gravitated toward each other, the 2 children clinging together like survivors of a shipwreck. Zara's heart broke watching them. Seo Jun stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, having what sounded like a tense conversation in rapid Korean. When he finished, he looked at the children. Eli, I have to go away for a few days. Zara will stay with you. Eli's face crumpled. You're leaving? I have to take care of some business. But you'll be safe here. Seo Jun knelt in front of his son. I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me? I don't want to be brave. I want you to stay. Seojun's composure finally cracked. He pulled Eli into a tight embrace, his shoulders shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all of this. You deserve better. I just want my dad. I know. Seo-jun pulled back, wiping his eyes roughly. I'll come back. I promise. It was a promise he might not be able to keep, and everyone in the room knew it. After Seo-jun left, Zara got the children settled in their rooms, read them stories until they fell asleep, then collapsed on the sofa in the living room. The security guards were positioned at the door and in the hallway, silent, watchful presence. Zara pulled out her phone and opened the encrypted files one more time. Something nagged at her about the money trail. She'd found Lee Jinho, yes, but the pattern suggested someone higher up. Someone with even more access. She pulled up the board of directors for Kang Holdings. 12 names. She ran each one through her analysis, looking for connections to Baek Ryu, unexplained wealth, anything suspicious. 10 names came up clean. 2 didn't. One was Lee Jinho. Did now. The other made her blood run cold. Park Ji-woo. Seo-jun's oldest friend. The man who'd been best man at his wedding. The godfather to Eli. The financial trail was subtle, but it was there. Shell companies that traced back to Park's wife's family, charitable donations that ended up in Baek Ryu's pocket, real estate purchases that made no sense unless you were laundering money. Park Ji-woo had been betraying Seo-jun for years. And if he found out that Zara knew, she and the children were dead. Her hands shook as she pulled up Seo-jun's number. It rang once. Twice. Ms. Okoye. Is something wrong? I found another name. Someone on your board. She took a breath. It's Park Ji-woo. Silence. Long enough that Zara thought the call had dropped. Then, you're sure? The evidence is circumstantial, but the pattern is clear. He's been funneling money to Baek Ryu for at least 5 years. Maybe longer. Zara pulled up more files. He's careful. Much more careful than Lee. But he got sloppy once, a real estate purchase in his daughter's name that was paid for with money from one of Baek's shell companies. Another long silence. When Seo-jun spoke again, his voice was barely human. Where is he now? According to his social media, he's at a dinner party in Gangnam. Posted a photo 20 minutes ago. Send me the address. Seo-jun. Send. The address. Zara did. Then she said, he's your friend. He helped kill my wife. He put my son in danger. He's not my friend. He's a dead man. The line went quiet for a moment. Thank you for finding this. You may have just saved Eli's life. He ended the call before Zara could respond. She sat in the dark apartment, listening to the children breathe in the next room, and wondered how many people would die tonight because of the numbers she'd uncovered. Morning came with news reports. A fire in Gangnam had killed 3 people, including prominent businessman Park Ji-woo. Authorities suspected arson but had no leads. Zara watched the news with numb detachment. She'd done this. She'd given Seo-jun the information that led to those deaths. Was she a murderer now? An accomplice? Or just a survivor doing what she had to do to protect 2 children? She didn't know. She didn't want to think about it. Eli woke up asking for his father. Zara distracted him with breakfast and cartoons, but she could see the fear in his eyes. He knew something terrible was happening. Children always knew. Seo-jun finally returned that afternoon, looking like he'd been through a war. His face was bruised, his lips split, his hands bandaged. Eli ran to him. Dad, you're hurt. I'm fine. Just a disagreement with some business partners. Seo-jun picked him up, wincing at the movement. But it's over now. We're safe. Promise. Promise. It was another lie. They both knew it. But Eli seemed to accept it, clinging to his father like a lifeline. Later, when the children were occupied with games, Seo-jun pulled Zara aside. Baek Ryu knows I killed Park. He sent a message this morning, a severed finger delivered to my office. His expression was grim. It belonged to one of my dock workers. A warning. He's coming for me. Then leave. Take Eli and disappear. You have resources. If I run, I'm dead within a month. Baek has reach everywhere. The only way to end this is to face him. Seo-jun looked at the children playing together. But I need to know Eli will be safe if something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen. Ms. Okoye. Zara. He grabbed her shoulders, his grip tight. Listen to me. If I die, Eli inherits everything. The company, the assets, the debts, the enemies. He'll need protection. Legal protection. He pulled out a document. This is a guardianship agreement. If I die, you become Eli's legal guardian. You'll have access to his trust fund, control of his assets until he turns 18, and most importantly, the authority to make decisions about his safety and education. Zara stared at the papers. You want me to raise your son? I want him to have a chance at a normal life. With you, maybe he can. Seojun's eyes were desperate. Please. You're the only person I trust. Zara thought about everything she'd seen, everything she'd done, everything that had brought her to this moment. She thought about Tari, about Eli, about 2 children who deserved better than the world they'd been given. If it comes to that, she said finally, I'll protect him with my life. I know you will. That's why I'm asking. She signed the papers. The attack came 2 days later. Zara woke to the sound of gunfire, distant but unmistakable. She bolted out of bed and ran to the children's rooms. Eli and Tari were already awake, clutching each other in the darkness. It's okay, Zara lied. We're safe here. The security. An explosion shook the building. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. One of the security guards burst into the room. Ms. Okoye, we're under attack. 20 armed men in the lobby. They're fighting their way up. Where's Seojun? En route. 10 minutes out. The guard, a woman named Seo, pulled out a gun and checked the magazine. We need to get you to the panic room. There's a panic room? Master bedroom. Behind the closet. Now. They ran. Zara carried Tari, Seo had Eli, and they sprinted through the apartment as more gunfire echoed through the building. The panic room was small, reinforced, with supplies and a separate ventilation system. Seo shoved them inside. Lock this door. Don't open it for anyone but Mr. Kang or me. I'll give you a code word, sanctuary. If someone knocks and doesn't say that word, assume they're hostile. Wait, you're leaving? Someone has to slow them down. Seo's expression was calm, resigned. It's been an honor, Ms. Okoye. She closed the door. Zara heard the lock engage with a heavy thunk. Then the world outside exploded into chaos. Through the reinforced walls, Zara could hear shouting, gunfire, screams. Eli pressed his hands over his ears and squeezed his eyes shut. Tari was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. Zara pulled them both close and prayed to a god she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Let them live. Please, just let them live. The battle seemed to last forever and no time at all. Finally, silence fell. Heavy. Oppressive. Then a knock at the door. Ms. Okoye. It's me. Sanctuary. Seojun's voice. Zara unlocked the door with shaking hands. Seojun stood there, covered in blood, not all of it his. Behind him, the apartment was destroyed. Bullet holes in the walls. Bodies on the floor. The security team had fought hard, but they'd been outnumbered. Seo? Zara asked. Seojun shook his head. She died protecting you. They all did. Eli looked at the destruction with wide, horrified eyes. Too much. This was all too much for a 5-year-old to process. We can't stay here, Seojun said. Beck will send more. We need to move. Where? Somewhere he'll never think to look. Seojun pulled out his phone. Somewhere none of his people have access. He made a call, spoke quickly in Korean, then ended it. There's a monastery in the mountains. 2 hours north. The monks owe me a favor. He looked at Zara. We'll be safe there while I end this. How are you going to end it? Seojun's smile was terrible. By giving Baek Ryu exactly what he wants. Me. The monastery was ancient, perched on a mountainside like something from a different century. The monks welcomed them without questions, leading them to simple rooms with sleeping mats and not much else. It was the most peace Zara had felt in days. Eli and Tari fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted by fear and adrenaline. Zara sat with them, stroking their hair, listening to them breathe. Seojun found her there. Can we talk? They walked in the monastery gardens as the sun set over the mountains. It was beautiful in a stark way, all jagged peaks and ancient pine trees. "I'm meeting Baek Ryu tomorrow," Seo-jun said. "Neutral ground. Both of us, unarmed, with witnesses from the other crime families. We'll settle this like civilized people." "You're going to kill him?" "If he gives me the chance." Seo-jun looked at her. "If something happens to me, the guardianship papers are in effect. They will help you access Eli's accounts. There's enough money to keep you both comfortable for life. Stop talking like you're going to die." "Oh my, Beck's been in this business longer than me. He's smarter, more connected, more ruthless." Seo-jun's expression was bleak. "But he killed my wife. He terrorized my son. So even if I die, I'm taking him with me. That's not, Eli needs his father. Not revenge. Not justice. Just you." "I know." Seo-jun's voice broke. "But I can't let this go. If I do, Beck will never stop coming for us. The only way to protect Eli is to remove the threat permanently." He was right. Zara hated that he was right. "Then don't die," she said fiercely. "You win, you come back, and you be the father Eli deserves. Deal?" Seo-jun looked at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her into a hug, brief, awkward, but genuine. "Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. You're not dead. Optimist. Survivor." They stood in the garden as night fell, two broken people trying to protect the children they loved, and for a moment, Zara let herself hope that maybe, this would all turn out okay. Seo-jun left before dawn. Zara woke to find him gone, a note left on the table. "Keep him safe. That's all I ask." The day passed with agonizing slowness. The monks brought food and tea. The children played in the gardens. Zara tried to distract herself with prayer, but she'd never been religious. She just waited. And worried. Finally, as the sun began to set, her phone buzzed. The text from Day. "It's over. Boss is alive. Baek Ryu is dead. Coming to get you." Zara sagged with relief so intense it made her dizzy. She pulled the children close and told them their father was coming home. Eli cried. Tari cheered. And Zara let herself believe that maybe the worst was finally behind them. Seo-jun arrived 3 hours later, battered but alive. Eli ran to him, and they held each other for a long time, neither speaking, just breathing in sync. Later, after the children were asleep, Seo-jun told Zara what happened. "Beck tried to kill me. Pulled a knife during the negotiation. But I was faster." He showed her his bandaged side. "He got me once, but I got him 3 times. He bled out before his people could get him to a hospital." "What happens now?" "Now we rebuild. Kang Holdings is mine again. No more traitors, no more leaks. The other crime families have agreed to a truce." He smiled tiredly. "We're free, Ms. Okoye. You and the children and me. We're finally free." It didn't feel real. After everything, the violence, the fear, the death, could it really be over? "What about us?" Zara asked. "The contract was for 3 months. It's been barely 3 weeks. The contract stands. 3 months, then you can leave if you want." Seo-jun looked at her. "But I'm hoping you'll stay. Not as an employee. As family." "Family? Eli loves you. You've done more for him in 3 weeks than I've managed in 14 months. And you've proven you'll die to protect him." Seo-jun's expression was serious. "I'm not offering marriage or romance or anything complicated. I'm offering a partnership. We raise Eli together. We keep each other's secrets. We build something better than what we had." Zara thought about Lagos, about running, about the endless hustle for survival. She thought about Tari's laughter and Eli's slowly healing heart. "I need time to think about it." "Take all the time you need. We're not going anywhere." They returned to the estate a week later. The security was tripled, the staff carefully vetted, and the entire property fortified like a military installation. But inside, something had changed. The house felt less like a fortress and more like a home. Eli started speaking more, his vocabulary expanding daily. He laughed at Tari's jokes and played in the gardens and slowly, carefully, began to heal. Tari thrived in her new school, making friends and bringing home art projects and chattering about her days with the unself-conscious joy of childhood. And Zara found herself settling into a life she'd never imagined. She managed Eli's schedule, oversaw his education, and helped Seo-jun navigate the complicated business of being both a crime boss and a father. They weren't a traditional family, but they were a family nonetheless. 6 weeks after the attack, Zara sat in the garden watching Eli and Tari chase butterflies. Seo-jun joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I've been thinking," he said, "about the guardianship papers." Zara tensed. "What about them?" "I want to make them permanent. Not just if I die. Always." He looked at her. "I want you to be Eli's legal mother. Co-parent with full authority. If something happens to me, you're not just a guardian, you're his mom." Zara's throat tightened. "Seo-jun, I've already talked to Eli about it. He wants this too." Seo-jun smiled. "He started calling you when he thought I couldn't hear. So let's make it official. What about you? What do I call you?" "Whatever you want. Partner, friend, co-conspirator in raising traumatized children." His expression sobered. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to love my son. And I already know you do." Zara looked at the children, Eli laughing, his face bright with joy she'd never seen before, and Tari spinning in circles, her braids flying. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." 3 months after the night Eli first spoke, Zara stood in a courthouse with Seo-jun, Eli, and Tari, and signed papers that made her legally Eli's mother. The judge smiled. "Congratulations. You're officially a family." Eli threw his arms around Zara. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby." And for the first time since her own mother died, Zara felt like she'd come home. But the story wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because in a city like Hanoi, peace was always temporary. And the Kang family, bound not by blood but by survival, love, and the promise to protect each other no matter the cost, would face many more challenges in the years to come. But they'd face them together. As a family. Against whatever darkness the world threw at them. The war wasn't over. Not really. In the months that followed, there were smaller skirmishes, rival factions testing Seo-jun's defenses, old enemies resurfacing, business deals that went sideways. But each time, they stood together. Zara discovered she had a talent for the family business. Her forensic accounting skills made her invaluable in negotiations and mergers. She could spot a bad deal from a mile away, and more than once, she saved Seo-jun from partnerships that would have destroyed them. Seo-jun, for his part, learned to be a father again. He taught Eli about the business, the legitimate parts, at least, and started coming home for dinner every night. He read bedtime stories and helped with homework and slowly rebuilt the bridge between them. Tari and Eli became inseparable. They were siblings in everything but blood, defending each other at school, sharing secrets, building a bond that trauma had forged into something unbreakable. And on quiet nights, when the children were asleep and the estate was peaceful, Zara and Seo-jun would sit in the garden and talk about everything and nothing. 2 survivors who'd found an unexpected partnership in the wreckage of their lives. "Do you ever regret it?" Seo-jun asked one night. "Staying?" Zara thought about the question. About Lagos and poverty and the constant fear of deportation. About the night Eli first spoke and how her entire life had changed in that single moment. "No," she said finally. "I don't regret it. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Seo-jun nodded, satisfied. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge over Hanoi City, 2 broken people who'd built something whole from the pieces of their shattered worlds. 6 months after the guardianship was finalized, Eli started therapy. It was Zara's idea. She'd been reading about childhood trauma and realized that while Eli was speaking and laughing and healing, he still carried scars that needed professional attention. Dr. Han recommended a specialist named Dr. Cho, a woman in her 40s who specialized in trauma in children. The first few sessions were difficult. Eli didn't want to talk about his mother, about the accident, about the year of silence. But Dr. Cho was patient. She used play therapy, art, and gentle questioning to help Eli process what he'd experienced. And slowly, session by session, he began to open up. One afternoon, Eli came home from therapy and found Zara in the kitchen. He climbed onto a stool and watched her chop vegetables for dinner. "Dr. Cho says I have two moms now," he said quietly. Zara's hands stilled on the knife. "What do you think about that?" "I think it's okay. My first mom is in heaven. But you're here. And you're real." He swung his legs, thinking, "Is it bad that I'm happy now? Even though she's gone?" Zara set down the knife and pulled Eli into a hug. "No, sweetheart. Your mom would want you to be happy. She'd want you to laugh and play and grow up loved. Being happy doesn't mean you've forgotten her. Promise. Promise." Eli hugged her tighter. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. So much." That night, when Zara told Seo Jun about the conversation, she saw tears in his eyes. He wiped them away roughly. "Thank you," he said, "for giving him permission to be happy again. I didn't know how to do that." "We're learning together," Zara replied. "All of us." The 1-year anniversary of the night Eli spoke came with surprisingly little fanfare. They marked it with a small family dinner, just the 4 of them, plus Day and Mrs. Huang, who'd become something like grandparents to the children. After dinner, Eli stood up with the solemnity of someone about to make a speech. "I want to say something." Everyone went quiet. "A year ago, I stopped talking because I was scared. I thought if I said what I saw, bad things would happen." He looked at Seo Jun. "But then Mom walked into my life, and I felt safe for the first time since my first mom died. And I decided that being brave was more important than being quiet." He turned to Zara. "You saved me. Not just that day but every day since. You taught me that families don't have to be perfect. They just have to love each other." Zara's vision blurred with tears. Around the table, there wasn't a dry eye. "So I want to thank you," Eli continued. "All of you. For making me feel safe. For making me feel loved. For being my family." Tari jumped up and hugged him. "You're the best brother ever. You're the best sister ever." And just like that, the solemnity broke into laughter and hugs and the chaotic warmth of a family that had chosen each other. Later, after the children were in bed, Zara stood on the balcony of her room, looking out over the city. Seo Jun found her there. "Big day," he said. "Big year. I've been thinking." He leaned against the railing. "About the future. About what comes next. And I want to go legitimate. Fully legitimate." He saw her surprise and smiled. "I know. It's probably impossible. But I don't want Eli growing up in this world. I don't want him inheriting my enemies and my sins." "What would you do instead?" "Focus on the shipping business. The legal parts. There's enough money in legitimate trade without the criminal enterprises." He looked at her. "It would take years. Maybe a decade. But I want to build something clean for Eli to inherit. Something he can be proud of." Zara considered this. "It's dangerous. The people you've worked with won't let you walk away easily." "I know. But I have something now that I didn't have before." He met her eyes. "I have a reason to survive. I have a family worth fighting for." "Then let's do it," Zara said. "Together." They shook hands on it, sealing a partnership that had started with a desperate transaction and evolved into something neither of them had expected: genuine trust, respect, and the shared goal of protecting the children they both loved. The transition wasn't easy. Seo Jun spent the next 2 years carefully extracting himself from the criminal underworld, cutting ties with old associates, selling off the illegal operations, and reinvesting in legitimate businesses. There were threats. There were attempts on his life. Twice, the family had to relocate temporarily when rival factions made credible threats against Eli and Tari. But each time, they weathered the storm together. Zara proved to be a natural at business. Her accounting background and analytical mind made her invaluable in negotiations. She became Seo Jun's right hand, the person he consulted on every major decision, the partner who could spot trouble before it arrived. The children continued to thrive. Eli, now 7, was a bright, curious boy who loved science and asked endless questions about how everything worked. He still had moments when the trauma resurfaced, nightmares, sudden fears, days when he needed extra reassurance, but Dr. Cho helped him develop coping strategies. Tari, now 8, had become the family's social butterfly. She made friends everywhere, organized playdates, and kept everyone's spirits up with her infectious optimism. She'd started calling Seo-jun uncle and treated Eli like the brother she'd always wanted. 2 years after Eli first spoke, the family took their first real vacation. A beach resort far from Hanul City, far from the business and the violence and the constant vigilance. On the last night, they sat on the beach watching the sunset. Eli leaned against Zara, half asleep, while Tari built sandcastles nearby. Seo-jun sat beside them, looking more relaxed than Zara had ever seen him. "This is nice," he said quietly. "It is. Think we could do this every year? Just the 4 of us, somewhere peaceful? I'd like that." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the waves roll in and the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was a perfect moment, the kind that made all the fear and pain and struggle worthwhile. "Mom." Eli's voice was sleepy. "Are you happy?" Zara thought about the question. About everything she'd survived and everything she'd gained. About the little boy who'd called her Mom when he felt safe for the first time in over a year. About the family they'd built from broken pieces. "Yes, baby. I'm happy. But I want you to be happy." He snuggled closer. "Because you make me happy." Zara's eyes stung with tears. She kissed the top of his head and held him tight. This child who wasn't hers by blood but was absolutely hers by choice and love and every moment they'd fought to stay together. "I love you, Eli." "Love you too, Mom." Beside them, Seo-jun smiled. And for a moment, under the fading sunset, they were just a family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real and whole and exactly what all of them needed. The darkness of their past still lingered, it always would. The violence, the loss, the trauma that had brought them together would never fully disappear. But they'd learned to live with it, to build something beautiful despite it, to choose hope and love even when the world offered neither. And that, Zara realized, was what family really meant. Not perfection. Not a fairy tale ending where all problems vanished. But the promise to stand together against whatever came next. To protect each other. To love fiercely and forgive freely and never, ever give up on each other. When the child spoke, he changed everything. He gave voice to his pain and his hope and his desperate need for someone to keep him safe. And in doing so, he brought together 4 broken souls who needed each other more than they'd ever known. Now, years later, they were still standing. Still fighting. Still choosing each other every single day. The war wasn't over. There would always be new threats, new challenges, new moments when everything hung in the balance. But as long as they faced those moments together, as a family, Zara knew they could survive anything. Because that's what families do. They survived. They protect. They love. And when the darkness came, because it always did, they lit candles in the night and reminded each other that morning would come again. Boys, if you enjoyed this story of survival, chosen family, and the power of speaking your truth even in the darkest moments, please hit that like button and subscribe for more intense thrillers. Drop a comment below and tell me, would you have taken Seo-jun's deal? What would you have done in Zara's position? I read every comment and love hearing your thoughts. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak when silence feels safer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.